My name is Cole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm Moxie.
I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. We're entering this weird, slow summer period. I say that all of June is going to be E3 stuff. There will be announcements and things, but it feels like everything in summer slows down in relation to this stuff. So let's enjoy it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Won't Elden Ring take up a good amount of time for you?
For me personally, yes. Do you want to hear something that is just terrible? And Ben has tricked me into talking about video games in the opening here. But this is more me decrying my lot in life. The Elden Ring DLC is coming out, I think, within 3 or 4 days of Frostpunk 2.
Oh no. Oh no.
This
Fuck
is like
you,
Spider-Man,
Cole.
two people falling situation. You gotta choose.
Yeah, TikTok.
No, there's 3. The third is sleep.
TikTok, Ross. Oh gosh. Yeah.
So we'll send you like a care package during that time.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to burn the candle at both ends. Obviously, Elden Ring is going to have to come first. I'm more bemoaning the fact that I have to choose at all, really. And Frostpunk is just going to have to come later.
I'm surprised. You think Elden Ring has more of a market share in Duckfeed land than Frostpunk?
Yes, because of Bonfireside Chat, we have to play and beat it so we can start that show back up again to talk about the DLC.
I think Frostpunker Side Chat is about the same size though, right?
And no, that episode of WAF did pretty good. And I don't know, people seem to like when I talk about it on here. People liked it when I streamed it before. It's just From Software keeps my house hot. Their games are my corn.
It's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
So I have to ask if you guys made a Frostpunk podcast, what would the title be?
Oh, I've got no idea. I'm terrible at names anyway. I'm terrible at names for anything that I am attached to. I can suggest off the cuff names for anybody else's thing, no problem. The second I'm attached, then it becomes serious.
Cole, I'm thinking of doing a Frostpunk show that you are not allowed on.
See, it doesn't work like that. There's a cooldown.
Ah, damn it.
Yeah. Oh gosh, who did something cool over the past week?
Ooh.
Cool?
I don't know. Dennis, what'd you do? What you been up to?
Oh no!
See, there you go.
No.
Yeah, by questioning the premise, you volunteered.
God damn it! You'd think I'd have learned by now.
Yeah.
We're in like the victory lap week for school.
Okay.
So they get out for summer on Thursday. So I'm just getting all my summer routine stuff prepped.
Cool.
Which included going to the local arcade and getting summer passes.
Nice.
So we're all hooked up with that now.
Wait, how does that work? Do they can just play all they want all summer?
Yeah, it's great. So the arcade has it's like $5 for an hour and then $10 to play all day. Or typically they just it's $50 for unlimited play for a month. Well, over the summer, they do a 3-month period for $100. So you basically get a month of access free. And that's a good time to go in. We got our money's worth out of it last year. So we'll be doing it again this year. Just any rainy day or increasingly days that are too hot to play outside.
Right.
We can duck in there.
Yeah, that is a really good idea, and I can imagine that being super fun. It's not even, Dad, can we, do you have $10 so we can go to the arcade? It's literally, oh no, it's already paid for. Let's go. It doesn't even have to be an argument as long as there's no prior commitment. Yeah. Yeah.
And the hilarious thing though is their favorite thing to do is go play the exact same Switch and PlayStation games we have at home, just on a bigger screen.
It's fine.
Go ahead.
No, sorry. Just story about arcades with Switch. Go on.
Oh, well, what I was going to go off on a tangent of is I feel like for the generation my kids are in, there's some weird streaming is encoded in the way they interact with the world.
Okay.
And like, so when they're playing with friends at their house, they're less likely to be doing like a multiplayer game where all of them are playing at once, and more likely to be doing like one person playing a single player game and narrating it as if they were streaming to everyone else in the room. And in the same way, I think they are more excited to play Switch games in public, right?
Oh,
because
so
there
people
might
can
be other
see
people.
them.
Yeah, other people witnessing them.
Yeah.
Have you
yeah,
introduced them to DDR?
No, we don't go to that corner. It's like the Shadowlands.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
I know a guy down here. This is just related to arcades, but he's figured out a hustle where he does a like charity raffles of Switches.
Okay.
And what he's realized is that, I have no idea, I'm just making up numbers, that a Switch costs like $200 or whatever. But he's gone to like, he has mastered skee-ball at the local arcade, has realized he can get enough tickets for a Switch for like $100.
Oh, that should be impossible.
Wow.
So he just like goes and will like, I don't know, like once a week go and just for like, I have no idea how long it takes, an hour, a couple hours, just play this one skee-ball game, get a ton of tickets, get a Switch, and then raffle it off for charity.
I don't know that I, as an adult, could step up to an arcade prize counter.
Yeah, also, like, what happens when the arcade's like, limit one per customer? And you're like,
So apparently they figured it out and like asked him about it, explained what he was doing, and so they were all right with it.
Oh, huh.
okay.
Wow. Cool. So he's
But-
raffling off stolen Switches.
Yeah, could be.
But by the arcade, I'm assuming.
The other thing, I need to send you a picture that sometime you would love. Our local arcade does a lot of like restoration, and they've got it set up so like their workshop has this huge picture window, so you can just see they'll have like a pinball machine or something, you know, like all disassembled, and like they're working on the relays and all that shit.
That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, there's an impressive pinball collection at the arcade we go to, Arcade Legacy, for anyone who's hyper local. And I noticed this last time that we went, because we like hung out there for a while after we got the passes. They had some sort of pinball tournament stream going on, and there was a very elaborate like camera rig on like a PVC pipe set up on wheels that they could roll around and basically put over any machine. It would have like one camera trained on the table, one camera trained on the scoreboard, and a camera trained on whoever was playing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and there was, it looked like it was some kind of like, inter arcade competition going on, or something where, the scores were being aggregated online. But that was really cool to see, them setting up between machines.
I want to see them with modern microelectronics and like robotics and shit have a inside the ball camera.
That would be something else.
That just sounds like
it's like
motion
those,
sickness.
well, it's like those Hot Wheels tracks where you watch the cars, go along the tracks that go like all throughout the house.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, like that. Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Moxie, what you been up to?
Not a. Sorry, I said that like, no, everything's going great, but yeah, no, not really anything particularly going on. I'm trying to put together a martial arts form that's oriented around like tiger kung fu type techniques, because and granted, this is like almost a year out, so but there's a local cat cafe that does like all of the cats are, it's a nonprofit, and all of the cats are for adoption, and then all the proceeds just, go to taking care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a yearly fundraiser where, people do performances and stuff. So I want to do this, cat kung fu demonstration at, they call it Kitty Palooza.
Oh, that's good. Sweet. Well, hopefully that comes together.
Yeah.
Ben, how about you?
Trying to think of cat martial arts like puns, so I'm busy with that right now.
I don't know enough martial arts stuff to do.
I'll get back to that. Delayed segue from Dennis's story. Speaking of people witnessing people, I showed my girlfriend Mad Max Fury Road over the weekend.
Okay.
And then
cool.
we went and saw Furiosa.
How was it?
And, well, it was not Fury Road, and by that I mean it was not a perfect movie, so it was just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
It's still creative in its own right, but yeah, it's tough that it's unfairly compared to Fury Road, which I really, really like. So
Yeah.
not as much for me, but other people might like it. So whatever.
It
Everything
seems
I've
like
s-
about 10 people went and saw it.
Yeah,
numbers.
I know that's been the story over the weekend, is that it was like
Yeah.
considered a bomb and everything.
No movie is doing well, and especially George Miller, God love him, amazing filmmaker, missed his moment with this. It's been 10 years since Fury Road. So I don't know that the iron was particularly hot when he hit it. The film will still have a legacy. It's just, you'd like to see that get rewarded.
I realize this is like not a particularly obvious or non-obvious statement, but every movie is doing horribly right now, and it's going to be that it did poorly because it's about a woman.
Well, yeah, I mean, people are going to say it. They said it back with Fury Road too. Yeah. It's
Really?
So I haven't seen it yet. I want to, but everything I've heard is just that it's not just a cash grab, which I
That's
feel
true.
like on my like 1 to 10 scale for rating sequels, like the first 7 or 8 points are not a cash grab.
Yeah.
So apparently the backstory was George Miller wanted to make both these movies kind of like at the same time and release this one
Oh.
a few years after Fury Road, but just couldn't get the funding for doing it.
I mean,
That's
the-
too bad.
Which kind of explains why there's such a lush backstory in Fury Road, and then all of that's kind of explained or elaborated on in this one, but then there's kind of nothing else behind this one. So
yeah.
Sure.
yeah.
So you would definitely say watch Fury Road immediately before going and seeing this.
I think
No.
if you've seen it enough, if you've seen Fury Road enough, you're going to go in and feel fine. Also, like, I don't know, it's kind of it's in reverse, where you see the stuff in Fury Road that doesn't really have any context and is cool and mysterious, but like you'll see you'll see the explanation behind it, and it's not like you're going to be lost about why it matters. They're explaining why it matters.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, had your girlfriend seen any of the Mad Max movies before?
No. And
So you go watch any of the others?
I probably not. I've seen, I think
We try to keep Mel Gibson out of our relationship.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I liked the the second one. I forget Road Warrior.
Road Warrior.
I think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that one, haven't seen Beyond Thunderdome, and I think I've seen the first one once and only once, and
Yeah.
it was weird.
The first one is Exhibit A in why you can't too directly translate the book into a movie.
Oh,
Like
man.
there were long sections or weird shots, and you could just tell it's like, oh, they're trying to reflect some prose from the book
Yeah.
about an eagle crossing the sky or having a certain glint, and it just doesn't work without some text giving you the vibe.
Yeah.
I'm mainly glad the first one exists, just for the fact that like it straight up established, it most strongly establishes the fact that none of this timeline makes sense.
Oh yeah, and George Miller said it just doesn't matter. Like he doesn't think
Right,
about
exactly.
that at all. I tweeted about that. Like I posted like just George Miller's refusal to become lore poisoned is really refreshing, and most people agreed. Like oh yeah, there was an interview where he talked about like I never think about when these things take place, specifically. And most people agreed, but the tweet broke containment, and so like I got a lot of people in my replies like being real shitty and saying, well, this one definitely takes place before Fury Road, so therefore your argument's invalid. It's like, what are you doing, bud? What?
You attracted all the people with too much time on the internet.
Yeah.
I think
It makes me. I love the concept of like myth making as a separate thing from storytelling.
Yeah. Oh, and you know, in his quotes, he says like, yeah, they're supposed to be like campfire tales. Like it just
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Totally.
Like the the Anansi stories. What order do they take place in,
Yeah.
or what have you? Like there's it kind of lends itself to that element.
Yeah.
So I was thinking the other day, I really like the, unfortunately I have to preface, not asshole comic book, like superhero fans, the way it seems like tend to have adopted canon, which like there's so much just random contradictory canon from decades and decades of whatever, that it seems like a lot of them have kind of adopted this approach of canon doesn't matter, but at the same time, you're also allowed to use it to like explain anything you want to explain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as long as you're not turning it into an argument where you're doing knowledge violence to somebody else, that's really what I do not like to see.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
You can only use it to prove why something makes sense. You can't use it to prove why something doesn't make sense.
Yes, exactly.
I just think it's wild how it's like anybody with passionate opinions about something, you can just say, this is how it feels to me, and then you don't need to fight with anyone about anything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just write like death of the author on like, I don't know, a book or something, and hit them in the face with it whenever they start to argue.
Yeah. Yeah, so I need to go see that. I'd like to see it in the theater, and I don't know how long it's going to be there. I was too busy over the weekend. I had planned to go. My niece graduated high school.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
what you think of doing next?
Just gonna go to the OSU branch that is nearest us for a little bit.
Nice.
To, just real practical. She got that from her dad. So like, yeah, just, live at home and go hit the gen ed courses that she needs and then figure out from there, save money. So
yeah, that definitely makes a heck of a lot of sense.
Yeah. So it was, a little bittersweet, just it's hard to believe how fast time goes, but she's cool. She's real cool. So, I'm excited for her.
Nice.
Yeah, that is cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So
she's not majoring in guitar performance after you set her up.
No. That's just that's still just a hobby. She's enjoying learning. Yep. Well, I think we should talk about video games. And to do that, we need to do the regular kind of show, what with the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. And why don't we get started with
The Grind.
The Grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past period of time or so. Who has something new?
I do.
Then
so
go.
This has been the spring of puzzle games, apparently, because I picked up a new game called Lorelei and the Laser Eyes.
I am curious about this. This is the new game from Device 6. Or no, not Device 6. The studio. They made Device 6 along with some other stuff. Yeah.
All I know about this is that I have watched every trailer for it like 3 times. I have no idea anything about this game.
The developer, I think their name's Simogo.
Yes.
And ironically enough, they're in the game. So it's so to paint a picture what this game is like, because it relies a lot on the aesthetic. It is kind of like Clue set in maybe old-fashioned Germany, and it is a 90s-esque like walk around solve puzzles type game.
Yeah.
That's in the broadest brushstrokes. That's what it's like. You play the titular character Lorelei. The idea is you've been invited to this mansion by an artist who is going to show you their grand opus. And so basically what that comes down to is you walk around a mansion, kind of have free reign of it. There are locked doors everywhere, and every locked door is locked to a combination lock that will either be like 4 numbers or 3 letters or something. And you have to try and figure out what the combination is. So, for example, as a minor spoiler, at the opening gate of the game, like you walk up, there's a lock you can't get through, but then a dog comes up and delivers you a letter from the person. You read the letter, and in there contains a clue that to open the gate of like the front door, and then you can get in there. So it starts small with like simple puzzles like that, but then it fairly quickly starts branching out into more and more elaborate puzzles, and it gives you more and more tools to kind of mess around with, similar to in the way that Animal Oil did that sort of thing, where it's like they give you a new gadget and that opens up an entire new branch of world for you. Mm-hmm. The difference between that and this is that things are a lot more immersive in this. Instead of it being kind of like, oh, a weird like yo-yo toy that doesn't really fit in context with the rest of the world, but it's still fun and cool. This is like, oh, there's a coffee machine, and if you somehow get a coffee cup, you can drink coffee, and then you can sprint around the environment instead of walk around the environment.
Yeah,
something
so like
you'll get part
of
how coffee works.
You'll get part of one clue in one place, and by moving faster, you can see more of it later in a different place. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Right? And a lot of it is just following up on trails, because it's, you might have like 5 or 6 places where you have some sort of setup for a puzzle, but you're not exactly sure what the answer is. And so you either need to explore more and find an item or a clue to unlock it, or you need to go back there and just think about it more and kind of review kind of the evidence that you have. And then maybe you have enough information already to figure it out, and then you can do it that way.
Yeah.
Just to give another example, is pretty early on in the game, you're given access to like a telephone, and it has a phone book there too. And so it's like, if sometimes, throughout the game, you might find a phone number that's important and you can call and hear from somebody. Other times you might think you have no phone numbers to deal with, but it's like things like that are very like open-ended tools that they give you, that are kind of used to further explore the mansion that you're in. Kind of the overall narrative is you're trying to figure out, the artist who invited you there has this like grand puzzle that they hired another artist to create. And the goal is to try and figure out what the point of this puzzle is, and what the artist is doing. It's heavily hinted at that there are things going on with like time travel, but even that is it's only hinted at. It's nothing is explicitly stated, even, like halfway into the game. So, it's a very mysterious type atmosphere that's presented to you. There's a little bit of like kind of spooky mansion murder mystery type stuff going on as well. But yeah, as far as the puzzles go, they're pretty well executed. The way I've described this to other friends is it's not as good as The Witness, but it's a really good puzzle game, and that should be a high compliment, like that it's even being compared to like The Witness.
Yeah.
From me at least. But
so can you just brute force the combinations?
Technically you probably could. A lot of times it's like annoying enough that it would just take you forever if you wanted to do that. I'll give you an example. Is pretty early on, they introduced the concept of there's shortcuts in the game, where, if you progress far enough, you can open the shortcut door. And so now you can like more easily travel between different kind of corners in the mansion instead of going in a huge circular path around. But to figure that out, I won't say how you figure it out, but to open it, each shortcut presents you with like a 0 through 99 combination lock, and you can press on it, and it'll just show an animation if it opens or not. And the animation's like, I don't know, a second or two. And so it's like, you could technically go through and try and solve each one, but it would basically just take you a long time if you wanted to do that. And there's certain points where the puzzles are too complicated that it would be too hard to brute force.
It also becomes, why are you playing a puzzle game at this point?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point as well. Yeah.
So in the line of being like The Witness, is there a shared vocabulary between puzzles, or is each one kind of self-contained within its environment?
It's the comparison to The Witness are only as far as it's like a puzzle game. Here, it's a lot more like, kind of think of like puzzle books you might have read as a kid, or like logic problems you might have heard in school, like that sort of thing.
Instead of placemat mazes.
Yes. Yeah. So and it's not like The Witness in the sense of like The Witness is kind of like made its own like logical system that can kind of elaborated on that. This doesn't do anything like that. This is just like it's all locks and solving locks essentially. As far as there's a number to get you through this, or a set of letters and numbers to get you through this, and you need to figure out what that is. And there will be enough clues to give you that. And yeah, and they do a good job of like playing around with that, of like kind of making environmental pieces be used in ways that you might not think they'd be able to use to answer this, to answer a puzzle. It does have the same sort of problem that every puzzle game has, which is as you get farther and farther along, there's more and more dead space now that you're backtracking through to get to the places of interest. They manage it a little bit with like having shortcut system and be able to more quickly get around. But it does get to a point where it's like, okay, there's a lot of stuff I want to do, but there might be only one or two things I feasibly can do right now. And so it gets a little bit frustrating where, it feels like there might not be enough help for certain puzzles, but I don't know. It depends on like how patient of a problem solver you are. Yeah. I haven't really been too upset with any of the puzzles in terms of like, I've never felt like any of the puzzles are like unfair or like, oh man, I would have never got that, like that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I think if you sit and think long enough about any one of them, you can eventually get it, provided you know that you have enough information to get it. Mm-hmm. Usually that's where a lot of the ambiguity comes from, is where it's like, I don't know if I can solve this yet or not. And like even looking at the information that I have.
And I'm sure like The Witness, it is something where a big part of it is learning how to see the world differently.
A bit, yeah. I mean, with The Witness, you can kind of more safely be like, if you're like, hey, I don't know how to solve this, and you can kind of safely walk away from it and know that you're not supposed to solve it at that point. Whereas here, it's not exactly like that, where it's like, I don't know, I can't solve this, but perhaps I just need to solve more information. I'll give you an example of the one right now. There's a book that's locked for me, and on the front of it is a ball that spins, where it's like black on one half and white on the other half. And so you can make it look like parts of the moon, like a full moon, half moon, like crescent moon, that sort of thing. Yeah. And I have a book that has like the list of what moons were in this one particular date that I care about. And the book has a number of the same year of that date. So it's like, okay, this seems like something. But then I don't know what order to put the series of the moon. I know I need to put 5 of them in somewhere, but I have no idea what the order should be. Right. And furthermore, I don't know if I have enough information yet or not. It's like I have some information, but not enough to jump out and tell me something. Right. So
you don't. Like it's not that you want a hint. You just want confirmation that all the pieces are on the table.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like there's one thing I'm missing to progress in the game, and so I kind of have to run around the entire mansion to figure that out. And like eventually I will, but it gets to the point where it's like it's increasing amount of time to find the next thread that you're missing. And that there's a little bit of friction there. So, yeah. But the aesthetic's great in this game. It's pretty creative. There's they do a lot of interesting things, and they have a lot of like mini games or games within this that are like surprises as you play. So, it's a pretty enjoyable playthrough. If you like puzzle games, this is definitely worth your time. Yeah. I would say comparing this to Animal Well, it's like similar high quality puzzle design, but just this is not a action Metroid game. This is a walk around and pick up things and think about things. More like a point and click adventure of the 90s. Yeah.
I had no idea what this was. Like, I had heard people speaking highly of it, and I was like, okay, well, this is by a studio that I like. Device 6 is good. I love Sayonara Wild Hearts. So I figured I was going to jump into it eventually, at the very least. But hearing you describe it does make me curious about it, because it sounds like, I don't know. I don't know if it's just because I had a really good time doing Tunic for Watch Out for Fireballs, but yeah, I'm still in a bit of a puzzling mood, and that sounds about the right speed after I finish Animal Well.
And I think this aesthetic would match like your interest as well. So yeah.
Now, most important question: can you pet the dog?
You can pet the dog, and there's like 5 or 6 different animations for petting the dog. So
Fantastic!
Yeah, they're high class animations too.
The studio's always
dog.
Studio's always been really good at aesthetic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet.
So yeah, definitely like the game. Would recommend. I'm still playing it. I think they tell you how far you are, like your knowledge through the game or whatever, like what percentage of knowledge you've collected. And so I'm at it's like 40 or 50% where I'm at now. So, but yeah, I'm gonna keep playing it. If I get too stuck, I might look up some information. But I think for now, I've tried to avoid any sort of spoilers like that. So
no shame in the game.
Yeah.
No.
It is really sad though that this game being named Lorelei and the Laser Eyes makes it less likely that a band will have the same name, because that might be the perfect band name.
Maybe. Anytime I hear anything related to Laser Eyes, there's a song on the old late night MTV sock puppet show Syphil and Ollie that is called Laser Eyes. They had little songs in each of them, and it is one of the catchiest things in the world. I'll cut in a little bit of it here.
Well, I've got laser eyes, and I know what you're thinking. These lights are true. Christmas lights are blinking. I'm so curious, I'm so curious, and I'm so curious. I've got laser eyes. I'm so curious, and I'm so curious, and I'm so curious, and I've got laser eyes. I've got laser eyes. Oh, suffocate.
So I can't think about Laser Eyes without thinking of Ollie singing Laser Eyes.
It is an inherently musical concept for
Yes.
reasons that escape our understanding.
Yeah. The song is like a little like takeoff on Suffragette City, like that era of David Bowie. It's great. And so I'm predisposed to like Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. It reminds me of something that I enjoy. Did you have anything else, Ben?
That's all I got.
Okay. That was a good one. Big.
Mhm.
All right. Any other new stuff?
I've got 2, and including one that is an indie puzzle game with very strong aesthetics.
Oh, okay.
A theme this week.
I can keep the combo going here. I found and played the demo for a game called Nights in Tight Places. And it's not out yet, but the demo is a pretty good taste of the game. And the name, which intrigued me, is because the team that makes Nights in Tight Places originally made Fights in Tight Places.
Oh, that game looks
yeah.
great.
Yes.
I was real intrigued by that, and then it fell off my radar.
Yeah, I had never seen either of them before,
Uh-huh.
and boy howdy, this is right up my alley. So the game. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say I'm interested to see. This has like some XCOM likeness, but not exactly.
Fights in Tight Places is a tactical RPG with a very small board, but all of your moves are tied to like cards. It's like a card battle system. Yeah,
It's a game about John Wicking people.
yeah.
Yeah, basically, yeah, and that claustrophobia of the playboard is very central to the game. So, you're gonna have 8 to 10 people on a board that is really just like 5x5 or 6x6 with obstacles in it. And so there is very little in ways or in terms of places to stand that are not directly adjacent to an enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Style wise, I'll just start there. It's got a medieval theme, hence the knights.
Mm-hmm.
You play like different D&D style party members. And the art is kind of this almost like cross-hatched ink drawing on a page kind of style.
No.
If that makes any sense.
I want to say it's a little woodcutty. Yeah.
Yeah, especially the environment that you're in.
Yeah.
Is kind of woodcutty-ish. So yeah, you definitely kind of have the feel that you're looking at a diorama here or something like that. And it's dare I say cutesy, but very, very well animated. All these kind of pen drawn-ish figures will act out the moves that you play for them in spectacular fashion. And because the game knows exactly where everyone's going to be standing, when you play the card, it can kind of animate less dependent on like snapping someone into the right place for a move. So it always looks really good. I wanted to draw the comparison to Midnight Suns, even though I've never played it before.
It's
going back
similar.
to mechanics.
Yeah, I mean, tactical card battler. Yeah.
Yeah, grid-based strategy game where your moves are a deck of cards that you're drawing from.
Yeah, that seems like a fair comparison.
It's got a, you know what it really reminds me of is Into the Breach.
Yeah.
Into the Breach with a Midnight Sun style cards aspect to it. So every turn, you can see where the enemy is planning to attack, the spaces that are kind of in danger. And then you can play cards to usually either attack or move. There are a very limited number of cards that have a combination of the two on them. And a lot of times also the moves are moving enemies around. So a grapple card might allow you to take an adjacent enemy from one space and put them in any other adjacent space. And the kind of strategy of the game is very much around, one, putting your enemies into each other's line of fire, and then two, lining up your attacks with your other party members. So you can, you have one set of cards, but you can play those cards for any party member, if that makes sense. And if you attack when you are when the enemy is adjacent to another party member, or in a direct line of a ranged fellow party member, they will get a free additional attack, effectively doubling your damage.
So you're set up combos.
Yeah, it is very important to set up combos. And there's lesser things where, like, if you push an enemy into another enemy, they'll both take damage. And every map has segments around the edge that are basically instant kill. This could be like, a railing or a cliffside or what have you. But basically, if you can push or kick or whatever an enemy across that line, they are immediately out of the fight, no matter how much health they have left.
Yeah. That's very that is very Into the Breach.
Also Midnight Sunsy.
I feel like with this and Baldur's Gate, like pushing people over cliffs is kind of having a moment right now.
On Real Lich Hours, we call that ledge play.
Ledge play.
Defend strategy.
Yeah.
So, with the small map, high number of enemies, and limited resources in terms of what each character can do. I guess the other consideration is most cards will have a weapon requirement. And so you can only play the card if you have a corresponding weapon. That makes the most sense for ranged attacks, but then there are also like things you can only do with a mace or a sword or what have you. So that's important because you are balancing one deck across, 3 party members. So having a balance of more powerful moves that are specific to one party member versus maybe less powerful moves that are more generalist is very important.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can you like pick up enemies' weapons or disarm them or anything like that?
No, you can trip them to knock them prone. And I did encounter some like stun abilities in the time I spent playing. I wouldn't be surprised if there were more things like that came into play. But at least for the section of game I saw, you were kind of locked into whatever weapon you chose.
The fact that you are controlling a D&D party makes this much more interesting to me than fights in tight spaces, where my understanding from everything that I looked at, you are just controlling one person against a whole bunch of enemies. Again, John Wick style thing. That doesn't like that seems like there is fun possibility there, but not especially expansive. And the combo play does sound more engaging to me than just here are your cards, try not to get killed. Right.
Yeah. Well, and there's multiple levels of what you're thinking about, because the first thing is like, just don't be standing on an attacked square. Right. But then, after that, it's like, how do I maximize the amount of damage I'm doing to enemies? And then after that, it's how do I make sure I'm standing in a position that next turn will be advantageous depending on what I draw. So maneuvering over towards those defenestration points, or making sure your archer has got the range or the space that he needs to operate. That kind of stuff allows you to like really think through every single turn. So there's a lot of layers to a very tight space.
Yeah.
So yeah, demo's out now. It's free. I don't think it says when the full game is launching. It's just coming soon.
Yeah.
But this definitely seems like the team taking something intriguing with fights in tight spaces and really kind of dialing it up in some cool ways.
Also giving it a more a more unique aesthetic. Like fights in tight spaces, very much. It's not exactly like Super Hot because it's not polygon people, but it is extremely super hot.
Yeah, it's kind of the solid blocks of color type of deal.
Leaning on
and I cannot compliment the animation in this one enough. Very cool aesthetic and very well animated. So I guess, I wouldn't have expected that to be so polished in the demo version. Like that feels like the piece that comes last, but clearly they know what they're doing on that front.
Yeah.
Oh, a nice little touch is at the end of every battle, you can hit a replay button and it plays out what happens in real time.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
So this thing you spent 15 minutes obsessing over plays out in 5 seconds.
Yeah, just like at the end of a Super Hot round. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Do they have any sort of like ability to export those replays or anything like that?
That's a good question. I wasn't looking for one, so I didn't see one. But also, it's very possible I just missed it.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
This just makes me sad that like there is no word about when Tactical Breach Wizards is coming out.
Oh yeah.
Oh, did that not come out yet?
It's not out. Yeah. They're still developing it. That's from the Gunpoint and Heat Signature developer.
From the it's one of the Defenestration trilogy or whatever.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's Nights in Tight Spaces.
Cool. Sounds good. What else?
Yeah. The other new one that I have is XDefiant, the Ubisoft team shooter, has launched in earnest just these past couple days. So I dropped in for some multiplayer action on that front.
I have not heard a single thing about this, Dennis.
Yeah, it got a little bit of the whatever that was, Rainbow Six Extraction treatment.
Okay, so it was just marched out to die.
Yeah, which is sad because it's a solid shooter, and it is man, it's hard not to mention these things without people assuming that I'm doing it in a negative way, but it is Call of Duty gunplay in more of a Overwatch objective-based rounds format.
Okay. Is it class-based, or there is like a hero shooter, or?
Yes, except the heroes are completely soulless avatars devoid of personality. The whole idea. Shooter. Yeah. The whole idea is like XDefiant is a mashup of all the Ubisoft properties. So Ghost Recon and Splinter Cell and Far Cry 6. What was the other one that's in there? Yeah, see, I already can't remember. Watch Dogs is in there.
That is the
Assassin's Creed.
That is the most Ubisoft idea. Is to just make the video game version of that one cereal that's all the monster cereals mixed together.
Mm-hmm. No, but get this. They don't even give you the main characters from those games. It's just random avatars that are like themed after them. Which is, ridiculous to me. So there are classes, and basically you select a class. Each class has 2 options in terms of their like special move, and then you can choose any weapon loadout to go on top of that. So, there's a fair bit of customization that goes on. So it's not like an Overwatch, the Lucian's or whatever he is, radio guy, DJ guy.
I don't know.
We'll say he's Lucian. I'm sure that's wrong. But he's like a very distinct flavor with very distinct gameplay completely different than a Reinhardt or whatever. This is like, it feels more like choosing a loadout than choosing a class,
Right.
which is not to denigrate it. Like, what's
I
there.
mean, it sounds like maybe we could denigrate it.
I feel like making these comparisons to Overwatch and Call of Duty makes it hard not to assume I am denigrating it. But
That's very damning to Overwatch and Call of Duty.
Yeah, well,
I mean, fair, but
so yeah, you're not choosing a faction and thinking like, oh boy, this is going to completely change how I play and approach the game. But you do have a high degree of control over kind of the tactical options you bring to stuff. And it's not a thoughtless decision, especially when the main mode is the kind of payload pushing mode. So there's an offense side and a defense side, and the kinds of things that you want to be doing are a little bit different between those two. So very, very zippy. And I think they've kind of, what marketing they have done has traded on this like, hey, we are an old school style shooter and we, don't have skill-based matchmaking. It's the Wild West out here. It's crazy and fun.
So they're basically saying like, hey, we want the most toxic people possible.
A little bit. Yeah, there's bunny hopping, there's quick scoping, there's all the jiggle peaks and whatnot. So I don't know why I said that like Bill Cosby. It's just how it came out.
I don't know. Is that real? What are jiggle peaks?
A jiggle peak? Yeah, that's like where you kind of move your character on the edge of a corner real quick to look around. Get a look, and because of the latency, you'll be gone before anyone can shoot.
Right. Okay. Huh.
That kind of deal.
Yeah, you're really not selling this game.
Yeah, I'm 0 for 2 with these kind of big license games. These are not even licensed, but big games these past couple weeks.
You know what would be an amazing Ubisoft battle royale game is if they just made the freaking multiplayer from Assassin's Creed.
I know. I miss it
Like
so
imagine
much.
99 player Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. Seems like it'd be pretty good. I don't know.
Baskets would
could be
run us
amazing.
over.
Yeah. So I had a good time playing it. It kind of scratches that Call of Duty itch, as we're a little bit between Call of Duty games right now. Although I don't know if we're gonna bring up in the end boss the news on that. But yeah, it's for anyone who's kind of walked away from Overwatch shaking their head.
Yeah.
This might be a way to get that itch scratched.
I just there hasn't been one of these multiplayer shooters that has appealed to me at all since Team Fortress 2. It really hasn't. And at that point, like it's not a problem with the it could be a problem with the games. I'm not saying it necessarily is a problem with the games. That one that I feel like I could enjoy hasn't come out for 18 years. But yeah, every time I hear one of these described, it's like, well, why don't they just do Team Fortress 2? Like Team Fortress 2 is good. They could just do Team Fortress 2, but better, more.
Even Valve can't
to
be
me,
convinced to do Team Fortress 2 again.
Has probably the worst feeling shooting in any game I've ever played.
For me, it's not about the shooting. They could make it with good shooting. I don't care. That's not the thing that I am super over the moon about with Team Fortress 2. It's just, I don't know. Anyway, that's me complaining that one game is not another game.
Honestly, I don't know. At least Call of Duty, I feel like they've done a thing where they've simultaneously somehow optimized for hardcore players and casual players, have ended up with the worst of both worlds.
And I think that's a little bit of what XDefiant was trying to speak to when they talked about like, we're not going to do skill-based matchmaking and stuff like that. The idea of like, we're not going to be so worried about sanding the edges off of the experience, that we want to make sure no one can ever dominate a match. There's, because of rubber banding or just because the matchmaking is always going to put you against people that, you're going to just kind of even out with. It's more like, hey, this is shooters as you remember them. Which there's a niche for that. And toxic community aside, like I had a lot of fun playing the old Rainbow Six games and stuff like that. And this recaptures some of that and puts a nice kind of more zippy arcadey feel to it.
Yeah, I just
so that you don't have. Oh, go ahead.
I don't know that Ubisoft is the place to give us that throwback.
No.
Yeah, again, if they're not even leveraging, and I don't know if it's like, they're keeping all the main characters from these franchises behind, unlockable skins or something like that. I'm sure it has to do with monetization.
I feel like the problem is there really isn't any company that could have given us that throwback has been, just looted by corporate investment.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, the two to do it would be whoever made Call of Duty,
not Treyarch, Infinity Ward.
Yeah, Infinity Ward or Blizzard, but neither of those exist anymore.
Not in a recognizable fashion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, XDefiant. I enjoyed my time with it. I'll probably do a little more, seeing if I can get my shooter friends to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And had a good time with it.
Cool. Yeah, don't let my being sour about it dissuade you from
Right.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, like I mentioned, the gunplay is very good. Right now, I think they don't have flinch in the game or something like that.
Don't have what? I'm sorry.
Flinch. So when you get shot, your aim gets worse.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
Which means sniper rifles are just oppressive right now. I haven't seen a single shotgun, but I've been killed at close range.
Weren't you signing up for an
plenty
old
of people.
school game that doesn't cater to snowflakes?
Yep.
Dennis?
So I don't think it was unintentional, but I do think it was a bad decision that will probably get patched. Yeah. So that's that.
Cool. XDefiant.
Cool. XDefiant. Let's talk about the other game that just sent Cole's skin crawling last week. Let's talk about Immortals of Aveum.
Okay.
Because I've continued playing this, and I have good news. It actually found some unique and interesting mechanics.
Okay, cool.
So yeah,
tell me about them.
It's found a soul. So the thing that I've really started to appreciate.
Do you become a necromancer?
No, not in that way. Not in that way. So as you progress in the game, you'll start getting these. I don't want to call them mini bosses, but almost like field commander troops.
Okay.
That show up against you in the field and have several different buffs or moves that will include all the weaker enemies around them. So it might shield them, or it might give them regeneration, or it might, there's all kinds of things that they can do. And those field commanders turn, your typical shooter combat into a lot more of a chess match as you're trying to see what this person is doing and then use the right tool to respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, they've started showing up, and it seems like that's going to be kind of a consistent thing, that it'll be, kind of your standard enemies led by some field commander is not what they're called in the game, but
yeah,
it's this is a green field commander. That means, they can put regeneration on their troops. They can kind of do this AoE damage zone out of an area. And they can teleport around real fast. Well, great. So I need to switch over to green weapons for shredding off the regeneration on the troops. I'll blink out of the areas they put on me, and I'll use the these limpets to slow them down or what have you.
Yeah.
When they try to teleport, and so just starting to recognize those patterns and respond in kind feels much better than just your standard, I've got my favorite gun and I will shoot everything with it. It feels like swapping around in your arsenal and using your different tools mid-combat is more meaningful than when I was just against standard enemies.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that actually sounds... Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that
hooray!
It's not a similar game at all, but it sounds like mini boss or rally enemies that would pop up in a dungeon crawler kind of thing, or like a Diablo, right? Where just here is an elite an elite enemy that happens to have like an aura effect around them that that makes everybody else harder, and then suddenly they become the emergency.
Exactly. And it's it's even better than that because I know exactly what you're talking about, Diablo, and I don't necessarily change my tactics when they show up. I just kind of point them at the biggest threat.
I just tactic harder.
Yeah, I just I just tactic harder. And whereas in this it is okay, I know what guy this is and I see which move out of his set he's going to use. I need to either try to interrupt that or I need to immediately try to dodge. Or that means I got to go focus on other enemies for a second or what have you. Like it does a good job of having those mid bosses or commanders, whatever, change the verbs that you're using mid combat.
That does sound cool.
Yeah.
So that's good. The other cool thing they've done is you get introduced to this faction of like magic eaters, which are these, like pseudo demons that have been pushed underground and like magic doesn't actually hurt them.
Okay.
They eat it, they absorb it. And so you're never able to kill them. The worst you can do is almost like overload them, and then they'll kind of be stunned for a little bit.
They'll get
like after you've had a really big meal. And so it's played as kind of like a horror thing that you can't stop these people. You can only kind of delay them. And they have some interesting puzzles around like basically stunning them on the right spots to like hold down switches for you to advance or stuff like that.
Huh. Yeah,
so that's the good news. There are some really interesting and cool ideas that have started to surface.
How long into its 6-hour runtime did it start giving that to you?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I need to look at how far into it I am.
I'm not dinging it for having a short runtime. I think that is good actually, but I just want to know like, okay, am I only spending 1.5 hours with this cool shit before the end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say again, I haven't finished it, but it feels about halfway through that stuff starts showing up.
Yeah.
So I'm at 6 hours now, and so it probably showed up 3 hours in. The bad news, however, is that as these new and cool elements have been introduced, the story has just become more and more incoherent.
Okay.
Good incoherent or bad incoherent?
Very, very bad and confusing incoherent. It continues to be noun soup. And there's a weird, every level is like, here's 6 new nouns that you've never heard before, but they inform your next objective, go. And everyone's like, oh yeah, didn't you know about the whole time? There was this guy who has the key to this thing that actually controls that other thing that we really need this person to do.
No.
Do they do wind up the BS thing where in dialogue, if you ask about something, they're like, how can you not know about the Flugelhorn master?
Well, they're trying to play, again, I said last week, it's clear that whoever wrote this story had some grand ideas and really cared about it. It's just maybe not being executed as well as possible. They've got some interesting things they're trying to set up in terms of the two factions that are against each other and how those two factions are viewed by third party factions. And so the whole conceit is like you get inducted into the Immortals. It's like the SEAL Team 6 of your faction. And they're like, hey, now that you're on the inside, here's all the things you need to know. All these dark secrets start coming out. And so it's played as your character constantly being, not them being like, how do you not know about that? But as like, oh, right, we need to tell you now. Here's the next plot point.
Yeah.
And oh, right, now that you're on the inside, now you need to know this. And well, oh, actually, okay, that thing, that. And after the third or fourth time this happens, even your character is coming like, guys, you should just tell me all these secrets at once. Why are we dragging this out?
Nope. Party foul. Bad thing.
Yeah.
Bad thing to do in a video game or any kind of story where where a character inside points out how stupid something is.
It gets better.
Like that gets you off the hook.
Yeah. So it gets better.
It sounds like your character just joined the call.
Yeah, maybe. They do a lava level, which is fine, very cool. But you get down into it, and your character's like, a lava world? Who would do that?
Yeah, no, that's
Oh, buddy.
Sorry,
buddy.
I no poison. I know I said it a lot last week, and I'm off board.
Yeah. So another put it in the XDefiant category of like it's fun to play. And,
I'm sure,
and,
yeah.
solid game. Like you said, the brevity is probably going to work in its favor, and that I can see that through easily. But I've stopped expecting any kind of cathartic end from the story. But man, lots of cool particle effects and non-gun shooting going on.
Yeah.
With some interesting ideas in terms of the combat now.
Seems like a gun would be useful against those magic eaters.
Really, really would.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I don't feel too bad about spoiling stuff. Like the resolution of that is like you're getting overwhelmed. And then you just run into one that's sentient and talks.
Okay, cool.
And it's never really expanded upon.
Huh.
See, I was hoping they'd be like, oh, they're actually, allergic to steel, so here's the sword.
we never thought to do this before. Oh.
They did make a point that the characters don't know what horses are because horses were driven extinct at the start of the war.
Oh, it's like Neuromancer.
There are no horses in Neuromancer?
Yeah. One of the funny things in Neuromancer is in that future, horses are extinct, but there's still payphones.
Okay.
Wow.
And 8 megabytes of RAM is godly. Like
it's worth killing someone over. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, a world where horses are extinct, but you still have a character whose entire personality is like drawling cowboy who makes a bunch of horse-based analogies. It's fun.
Weird.
It's interesting.
Huh.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I'll probably see it through. And it's a well-made game, just at times incoherent in different ways.
Mm. Huh.
Oh, wow. I have literally a spider just came down on a thread right next to my head.
Ooh, fun.
Hey, little guy.
That sounds like an
There it
omen.
goes.
Yeah.
I guess I should stop talking shit about Immortals of Aveum.
Maybe. They're here. They heard you.
Wow.
Ubisoft is putting their technology in the wrong place.
Yeah. Huh.
Moxie, how about you?
So I've completed the next major story quest in Warframe.
Cool.
So this time around, the new random thing that was added is apparently time travel now exists.
Okay.
So yeah, this is obviously spoilers. But yeah, you go back in time and also switch to a different character when you go back in time. It's very strange. You basically suddenly halfway through the mission turn into Raiden from Metal Gear Rising.
Okay. I mean, that's not unusual in the world of Warframe. Like it's a world of Raidens.
Well, that is true, but this one is literally like at least say 50% human.
Okay.
But strangely enough, has the exact same moveset as one of the Warframes. It's very strange. Yeah. Also, there's some like talking animals now.
Okay.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah. It's weird. Like they're kind of doing a little bit of a kind of some religious theming.
Okay.
There's a prophecy / plan that the various characters are trying to work together to implement, and the different characters, basically a lot of the story beats are the different characters, how they're reacting to this plan, how they're reacting to what they've lost, that sort of thing. So, just kind of sort of a meditation on like faith.
Okay.
Which is, kind of interesting, especially for a game that otherwise is about space ninjas.
Yeah. Does the time travel factor into like the mission structure mechanic kind of stuff at all, or is it just an excuse for them to be even faster and looser with story stuff?
Mostly that, yeah. Mostly faster and looser. There's alternate dimensions have been a have been a story element for a while now. And this is kind of playing off of that.
Okay.
I don't know. This is, as you might imagine, this is a story that's very difficult to talk about.
Yeah.
Just because there's so many. It almost does some of the some of that approach to storytelling where there's just a ton of story threads and they, periodically tie certain ones together or, untie them or that sort of thing. And so a lot of it is kind of trying to map through.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for example, there's a evil version of your character. Like, looks exactly like you, except is evil.
Mustachio.
Huh?
Yeah.
No goatee. At
Okay.
least not in my model.
All right.
But that's kind of been a long running character, and not really clear what her role in this story is. What she's doing, but she kind of shows up in this to a greater degree. Like, I don't know, like I said, this is very frustrating to talk about because there's a lot of cool things going on. It's just none of it makes sense without being invested in it.
Right. It requires so much context from literal years of being a live service game and playing previous drops. Yeah.
Right. And like, for example, this kind of evil doppelganger character, like, her whole, like, a lot of her aesthetic is just like her appearing and giving some some commentary or something, and then when you like turn to look at her, she's gone, that sort of thing. And so that's been going on for like years, and so it's a thing where like I can't even say like, oh yeah, these are the things that happen, because it's more about how disjointed the things were.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's a lot of fun. You get a new weapon that is basically a spell book that just lets you shoot energy blasts.
Okay.
And the new Warframe is named Dante. It's kind of a scholar-themed Warframe with a lot of really powerful defensive abilities.
Naming a character Dante in this character action game MMO thing sounds like it's dancing just a little bit close to the flame.
Except that this is going much more in terms of like divine comedy.
I know. I'm just,
but yes,
I'm more
but
just
yes,
making a
I do
joke.
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I do have to say, like, looking back at it, I think one of the weirdest things about the kind of the world they've built is less the actual weird shit that happens in the stories and more the just all of the abilities that they've given Warframes throughout the game and have never really explained.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, there are Warframes that appear to be explicitly, like, magic.
Okay.
Or, there's a Necromancer Warframe that just straight up can raise the dead and, like, manipulate souls and stuff. It's like, wait, doesn't this kind of, like, have some greater, influence on, kind of the metaphysics of the world? Like, are we saying that everyone canonically knows that the afterlife exists?
Yeah. So it kind of seems like something to be addressed.
Yeah, there's also a weird thing in that all of the Warframes pretty much are just kind of power armor suits.
Mm-hmm.
But then, at least in some situations, they apparently have personalities, and that's never really explained.
Yeah.
So one thing they did add that seems just a little bit too real is the way they handle one of their in-game lore books is they have a sentient AI that is running kind of this like pocket dimension museum.
Okay.
And so you can go wander around. It's really cool. But when you complete this mission, you basically get a letter from him where it's like, hey, so not enough people were donating to the museum, and I had to take out a loan from the hypercapitalists, and so now I'm going to need you to, like, help me run these missions to, get a whole bunch of, ancient alien artifacts so that I can sell them off. Otherwise, they're going to repossess my museum.
Okay. And are those the different kinds of missions, or is it more of the kind of standard ones?
It's one that has existed before, but it's kind of in with the different factions. It's sort of they kind of recontextualize, why you're doing it. So it's basically a heist mission where you get a key to unlock like a vault, and then it takes like 30 seconds to unlock, and while that happens, a super powerful enemy comes, and basically if they make it to the vault before it unlocks, they'll like shut it down.
Okay.
And so you have to take the enemy out. But it basically was introduced with the previous one of the previous factions, so it's kind of recontextualizing why, what you're actually heisting and that sort of thing. So it's predominantly for story beats.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's about it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry to disappoint everybody. I don't really have anything new. Like, I finished up Crow Country, continues to be really good. Played a little bit of Animal Well, but haven't made a ton of progress. Just kind of hit a point where I feel a little bit stuck. And so gonna try and go back to it after a little break with fresh eyes.
What items do you have so far in Animal Well?
I just got the disc. I just got the frizz.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus, 1 second. Fuck. Sorry, I left a tab open. I left a tab open, and God, I really wish Steam wouldn't automatically advance you through their little slideshow and then start playing incredibly fucking loud music. Sorry.
I thought you were going to say the spider got to you now.
No, the spider didn't get to me. No, sorry. I had a tab open about a game that one of you was talking about, and then it just blared me in the ear. Fuck.
Oh no.
I mean,
yeah, Steam videos have the loudest volume.
Okay. Yeah, so I got the frisbee is the one. I also got a flute of some kind that I'm trying to figure out how to use. But yeah. Just trying and pushing at the edges of stuff, trying to make progress into other places. So
cool.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, and a little bit of Clone Hero. I've mostly just been doing homework for WAF. I got behind because of various things. So yeah, no, sorry, didn't do my thing this week. Oh well.
Couldn't play games. I had too many games to play.
Yes.
Multiplayer.
Now it's time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and you answer it. Dennis, what is the question that you ask the nice people?
Yeah, I want to hear about the dumbest thing you've done in a video game. Just out yourself here. Just let's hear it.
Okay. Let's get started with Steven, who says, in the RE4 remake, there's a puzzle in the castle where you look at a picture of a king and queen and have to sit yourself and Ashley in front of the seat with the same food as is in the pictures and then ring a bell. I spent about a half hour not understanding that and tried to find the two bells that sounded the same. When that didn't work, I thought I had to make a certain harmony. Way too long for me to figure out the pictures were there. Uh-oh.
Not gonna lie, that
that's
actually
great.
sounds like a much better puzzle, though.
Yeah, and that is the thing that you run into with anything that has puzzles in it is okay, there's always the danger to overthink it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that relates to my answer that I'll have a little bit later, but it is not the it is being too dumb to understand when you're putting too much effort in, I guess. Yeah. Ben, what does Peter say?
Yeah, Peter says, when I was younger, I convinced myself I was good at fighting and racing games because I could beat the campaign modes with ever losing a fight/race. However, I only ever did so with the use of a Game Shark. Also, we're talking like Crash Team Racing, Hydro Thunder, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and Gundam Battle Assault back on PlayStation. So fast forward a few months, I've started making friends at a new school, and we go to a local laser tag center for a birthday party. Well, 11-year-old me started bragging about how good I was at fighting and racing games, so I vehemently declared, I don't think anyone can beat me.
Uh-oh.
So one of the kids from my class put in some coins for probably Tekken, whatever the number was, newest in 2001, and I got my butt handed to me. I got my slice of humble pie that day and realized I was only ever okay at these games because I had the cheats. I forever learned to be humble and let my actions speak for themselves rather than trying to make declarations like that ever again in everything I do. Well, that's good.
Some people never learn that lesson, and
Yeah.
I admire you for taking those licks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Boy, that's rough. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Like even just if you were just talking shit, like that is one thing, but like to talk shit and then also say, "Oh, I didn't have my Game Shark this time." There's something even more humiliating about that.
Yeah. Now, let's look at it from the other kids' perspective, though. You did them a huge service and handed them the best day of their lives, probably. Like next week's question: what's the best thing that's ever happened to you in video games? And it's like, oh, there's this kid talking mad shit about how good they were at fighting and racing games at this birthday party one time, and I perfected them.
I stomped them. I met my wife that day. And Ben, what does Random Sum say?
Random Sum says, it wasn't a gameplay mistake, but overwriting my save files as I went while playing Final Fantasy Tactics sure led to me restarting the whole thing exactly where you think it did.
Uh-oh. Wigger fight. Bad.
Mm-hmm.
You got stomped.
Oh, no.
You're stuck.
Oh,
Yeah. Situation similar to that taught me very early on that memory card space be damned. You need to have at least 2 rolling saves.
Yes. I was so bad for the longest time about save hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
I would literally just overwrite the exact same save every single time.
Oh yeah, because you're trying to maximize space, probably.
Well, I think it was just some weird, like, drilled into your head growing up to conserve and not waste things.
Mm-hmm.
That just eeped out in video games, and yeah, it bit me in the ass hard as well.
These things happen to me all the time on streams. Like I will just completely just not see something, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's right in front of me, and then there's the stream delay. I'm getting frustrated because I can't figure out how to proceed, and people will say, "Oh, it's right there," and I have to in my head roll back like 30 seconds for where I was. Okay, so what? It was back here. I'm getting that feedback, which is part of why backseating in streams is not necessarily the best etiquette. But I mean, I would say even just like last weekend when I was streaming the end of Crow Country, there's a puzzle that kind of hints that you are looking at common letters between a couple of words. I feel comfortable spoiling it because that's not what it is. I was also overthinking it just a little bit, but as I was going through and comparing, I was just like confidently missing very obvious commonalities between, words that were like 5 and 7 letters long. Yeah. So I had a couple of those. It always feels worse when it's in public like that because geez.
Streamer brain is a thing.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the video with the bear that dances through the basketball drill?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It never ceases to amaze me. Just once your brain is locked into one track, you really don't see anything else.
Yeah. Some Oliver Sacks shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Otherwise, I do tons of stupid stuff in games, but it's more like if I can save or if I feel like it's worth, backtracking a little bit, I'll do the incredibly stupid thing just to see what the developer accounted for with it when they were putting the situation together. Baldur's Gate 3 is a very good game for this. which is all right. So there's a dipshit option here. I have to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite things about was it Fallen London? There were options that were just straight up like your character has no sense of self-preservation.
Oh yeah, no, put it
Like
in there.
I remember you find something that's like some sort of evil artifact or something like that, and just completely unprompted, one of the options is to like put it under your pillow and sleep, go to sleep.
Yeah. Who knows? That might be how it works. Might save the world if you do that.
If you don't want to know what to do, they do say just sleep on it.
Yep. Ben, how about you? Dumbest thing you've done in a game?
Yeah, I think like the actual answer is kind of boring. It's probably like missing like very obvious lines, like playing Magic. That one's not fun. So I'll say the knowingly one is like playing like the Quarry or like After the Sunset, or I forget that's what it's called. Where it's like you have the characters choosing the dumb options and like just to see all the edges that you didn't want to try the first time through. Those are fun playthroughs. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, and that gets into what is your role when you're playing something like the Quarry? Like, are you role playing as the character, or are you the director trying to make the most interesting story play out?
So I figure you're the hand of justice, trying to make sure that those who deserve it get eviscerated.
Also, possible. Lots of valid ways to run at it. Yeah. Moxie, how about you?
Yeah. So this one's an easy one. I think the stupidest thing I've done in gaming is played the Stanley Parable. No, I'm sorry. I'm contractually obligated to make those dumb jokes. Stanley Parable is fine. No, I think the actual one is falling off the boat in Ocean of Tears in EverQuest.
Oh no! Do you want to explain why that's bad?
Yeah. So for people who aren't familiar, there's actually a number of reasons that's bad. This is in old school EverQuest, and one, the boat operates in more or less real time.
It's like waiting for a bus. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So like if you do survive all this, you still have to wait, 15, 20 minutes for it to get back. Also, this is kind of a zone that is basically represents like the game's equivalent of like the Atlantic Ocean.
It's the ocean between Antonica and Fadewar. Yeah.
Right. And so you can't simply like go to the edge of the zone and switch over to the other zone, so you have to wait for the boat to come.
Yeah. Also, being in the water can exhaust you.
Right.
There are sharks in the water. There's really nothing much to do in the map. Like the ship will stop at this island that has a bunch of dangerous stuff on it, because I think maybe one or two quests goes there. But like, if you're going to fall off, it is going to be when the ship is zoning. Because this is a really early game, and the idea of having like a movable piece of level geography or geometry that like a bunch of people were on just was not stable. So you wouldn't fall off like on your own half of the time. Sometimes you would just be running around and forget what you were doing, or misjudge the distance, and some lag happens, and then you just kind of fall off. But like, you would fall. You would either die in the ocean, a little bit better, you would die on the island. You have to get your corpse back.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's the last thing.
Otherwise, you lose everything that's on it. You have 7 days on your corpse timer, at least back at the time. And your best bet at getting it was to pay an exorbitant amount of money to a cleric. To a necromancer, actually. in order to like draw the body back from the water so you could loot it and then move on with your stuff. And if you happen to be playing on the role-playing server that we were on in Furry Vi, and the faction lines were very clearly delineated, finding a necromancer naturally who A, understood the language that you were talking, or B, would work with you was kind of difficult.
Right.
It was just it's a whole class that is only for the evil races. Yeah.
The other option, if I remember correctly, is find a gnomish engineer that had built like a diving suit.
Oh, I don't remember that at all.
I thought that was a thing. Like, I thought there were some people that like explicitly specialized in retrieving corpses from underwater.
They probably had breathe underwater spells. They were probably
That
like a
could be
ranger or a druid, and they were able to get out there. They could swim fast enough to outrun the sharks. They didn't have to worry about oxygen, so they could just swim around at the bottom looking for the corpse and then just do the /drag command.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, how do you like hearing about EverQuest? Because I love talking about it. This is vitamins to me.
Yeah, it very much was an example of, I talk about, watching old, like, silent movies, and it's interesting seeing, them having not quite figured out all the conventions.
Mm-hmm.
This was very much them not realizing, like, just because the ocean is there doesn't mean it needs its own zone.
Yeah. Oh, I love that game.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis,
There's something pure about truly like they were just making a space for players to be in. Like you were at the whim of this space.
Yeah,
it was not made for you. You were trying to exist in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will straight up say, like, I think there is a sense in which a lot of modern MMOs have kind of sanded things down a little bit too much.
Oh yeah.
I would love to see them do like an RE2 make or whatever of EverQuest, where they just kept all of the weird things like, having to learn languages and stuff like that, and just, like quadrupled the out of combat health regeneration and how much XP you gain.
Yeah. Make it so it feels like you were playing it with all that friction, but not actually recreating it 100%. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. Now I'm sad thinking about EverQuest. Dennis, how about you?
I'll make you happy.
You sad thinking about EverQuest?
No. I've got so many other things to regret and look back on. For me, the dumbest thing I've ever done in a video game was in Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Outcast.
Okay.
I think that's the second one in the series or whatever. And notably, this was one of the first Star Wars games that I could get my hands on to play. Like, this was at my library. I rented it from my library, and had not really played. How would you describe that? Action game, first person action game?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a straight up shooter, but it was kind of the first game of that ilk that I had played. And very first level, I'm making my way around, and I get stuck on this section where I have to climb up this like hill of rocks kind of deal. And it's like not exactly apparent how you do it. And I spend, God knows, probably an hour just trying to figure out how to platform up this. I then go and I'm like, all right, fine, I give up. I learned how to do console commands. I'd never messed around with that before, but opened up the console commands and started like, okay, can I clip through and just get to the next? Can I fly? Probably spent another half hour on that before realizing I just missed the obvious correct path, a little bit back. This was just scenery. It was not, but I was so locked into the whole, like your brain locks in on one thing, so locked in, and I need to get to the top of this mountainish kind of thing, that it never occurred to me that I was going the wrong way. Well, that was immediately preceding the first boss fight of the game. And I already kind of popped the console command cherry. I might as well give myself a little help here, right?
That's a problem.
spent a lot of time trying to take down this boss that just I could not win, even with the help of the console commands, because you're supposed to lose to that first boss.
Oh no! Yeah,
It's meant to be. Yeah,
there's just a bunch of stuff that you literally didn't have the vocabulary for.
exactly. Yeah. And so I spent so much time like regenerating ammo for myself and what have you, trying to beat this boss that you are destined to lose to for story reasons. Excuse me. And so between climbing the unclimbable hill directly into the boss fight that you're not supposed to win, I walked away from that session being like, I might not be smart enough for video games.
At least you realized what it was, and it wasn't you didn't take the game like, hey, this is broken.
Yeah. I had that little kid perseverance, you know. But yeah, that's it for me.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for responding. Dennis, thank you for posting. If you would like to participate in these in the future, go to the Duckfeed community Facebook group and watch the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons.
The end boss.
Now it is time for the end boss, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games and how we feel about them. Moxie, you have, I think, the biggest story, so I'll have you go first.
So the parents of several Uvalde shooting victims are suing Activision. They're basically claiming that the Call of Duty series effectively influenced the shooter.
Yeah.
They've described the games as being training camp for mass shooters. So I think the thing that's interesting here that goes a little bit beyond the normal like video games are causing violence thing is they zero in on the degree to which Call of Duty and similar games kind of glorify and romanticize very specific weapons.
Yeah.
Apparently the gun that was used in this situation is a very obscure variant of the AR-15 that's only made by one small company, but is prominently featured in the game.
Okay.
And so that's a lot of I think the more compelling parts of what they're talking about. They also say that the game, allowed them to the shooter to develop skills as a marksman, and some things like that are a little bit more more out there. Apparently, also before shooting, one of his teachers, he said "good night," which is, I guess, like a common phrase by one of the characters in the game. Yeah, so I felt like this was interesting because on the one hand it's interesting because I kind of thought society had moved on from this sort of blaming video games for violence. On the other hand, I think it's interesting because I do feel like they maybe have something of a point here with the degree to which these games often kind of operate as gun porn.
Yeah. I want to be super careful with this because this is related to parents' grief in an incredibly horrible situation. It's worth saying that Activision is not the only party being sued for this. I believe in addition to the Uvalde, police and public services, everybody who let those kids down that day, they're also, I think much more importantly, suing the manufacturer of the gun. This is,
that makes sense.
Yeah. This challenging the presumed immunity that the manufacturers of a product hold for the actions that people take when they use that product, specifically when it is something that can only be used to kill people. is the only reason you would actually have it. I think that is definitely that to me reads as worthwhile. Not to say that this isn't. I'm not opposed to the question being raised. I just do not see anything in the facts of the case as they're presented that feels slam dunk in terms of culpability on the part of any one corporate actor.
So I feel like the strongest case they or they kind of have here is the fact that this was a pretty obscure gun, and so I think probably it's pretty likely that if this particular gun had not been featured in Call of Duty, he wouldn't have selected it. On the other hand, I mean, the alternative probably would have just been some other AR-15.
It becomes a conversation like, okay, like, was he just generally so enthusiastic about guns and gravitated toward this one? Or was it, he knew what he wanted to do, and he could have just found out, okay, AR-15 style weapon from any of the news coverage of any of these other shootings, and gone and gotten something basically as effective. Like,
right, exactly.
I do not believe that the manufacturer or necessarily Activision are in the right here. I'm just thinking, how do you prove that materially him picking this gun is more led to a more deadly result than just getting getting any of these class of weapons where I am skeptical that people need to have them.
Yeah, I feel like
I wonder if there's a more pragmatic angle of like the best way to try to affect change, whether or not the lawsuits go through, is to just make it dangerous to even stand next to the manufacturers.
Possibly,
right? Like,
yeah,
go and it lines up with the parents' grief and anger of like, just go scorched earth at anyone who could be connected in any way to this. And there's some strategy to, going after the people with deep pockets, that, the end game here might not be that they realistically expect to win the suit against Activision. And I'm talking out of my ass here. So that it could be that they think they've got a real case, but it's more that if they make it, toxic to be associated with manufacturers in any format, that companies will be quicker to distance themselves and, make these manufacturers more isolated, or make it more likely that, okay, we need a scapegoat. The manufacturer is the one that it can legitimately be pinned on. So I doubt parents who lost their kids are thinking about it on that level, but I imagine the lawyers that are seeking to enact change maybe are.
Yeah.
I think one of the difficult elements in some of this that I think could sort of speak to the logic of going after more boutique gun manufacturers is kind of the problem with this is that a lot of these potential changes, what they really do is basically just say only rich people can have guns.
I don't want to get into like a broad
but what I'm saying is I think that's where then it potentially makes sense of like if you're going after if you're going after the people that are explicitly marketing as the like here's my $3 billion 100 round super gun or whatever. I think there's some advantage to that.
I think so too. Yeah. I don't know. It's just it's one of these things. I don't know that all of us kind of came up in the era of the GTA hot coffee kind of thing, where it was very clearly farcical, predatory on the part of the lawyers, but also politicians trying to whip up a moral panic just kind of in order to have one. Like
Well, and-
it felt kind of it felt kind of silly. It is hard to break the habit of knee jerk
Yes.
rejecting this kind of thing when it comes up. Because I saw this announced and I was like, okay, there are a bunch of really good defendants listed in this. This one is sticking out. Maybe just because I know more about this industry to me, and it feels like a dry well they're trying to pump, but it also could just be that I, just came up at that time when it was pretty farcical, right?
Yeah, the thing I had never realized as a kid, or I guess, I mean, I don't know it for sure now, but like, I didn't have whatever the context or background to even consider it, is the possibility of like, was all of that, blame video games just kind of astroturfing of like, the gun lobby trying to be like, oh yeah, no, don't, have background checks and, sensible gun regulation, just go after the video games. It seems like,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it doesn't have to be a conscious effort on their part. It could also just be aligned incentives. Politicians would see, okay, guns are being blamed for this. And at that time, it was, let's get out and talk about video games in order to draw heat from our campaign backers.
Yep.
And, the modern version is, talking about mental health, right?
Right. Yeah, man, this is, sorry, off topic, but it's crazy. Down here, you don't even need a license to conceal carry.
Oh, and Ohio either. Yeah.
Oh, really? Ohio's that way too?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I thought it was an Alabama thing.
Nope. Yeah, Ohio did that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Shit be crazy all over.
Yeah. So we'll see how this goes. Lawsuits move very slowly.
Yeah.
Hopefully some stuff is brought to light at the very least. Hopefully there's, good stuff comes out of it. It's just hard to think about anything related to Uvalde without just getting really, really sad. Paralyzed sad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see. What else do we have? Dennis, what let's do a complete 180 here.
Yeah.
there's no way to segue cleanly off of
Child
Uvalde.
death.
Yeah. What's happening in the world of people who might want stuff related to Shin Megami Tensei 5?
Yeah, this is just a palate cleanser here because man, it's heavy. But a collaboration kind of materialized out of the blue. The makers of Shin Megami Tensei 5, Vengeance, I guess.
That's the all consoles re-release updated version. Yeah.
Yeah. They announced a collaboration with the band Slipknot. Specifically with the person who makes masks for the band Slipknot. Which, how well the two of those actually go together is debatable, but the result is freaking cool. So they put this out in a tweet. They actually literally tagged Slipknot as well as the artist making these masks and showed kind of a behind the scenes video of the artist making masks inspired by Damon Gurulu and Loop Garu, which I assume means something to the people who are into.
I mean, Loop Garu is like a werewolf type.
That's French
creature.
For werewolf. Yeah, Loop Garu. Yeah.
Ah, there you go. Yep. Well, and one of the masks is very werewolf-esque. So yeah, just kind of really cool to see the behind the scenes process of these masks being made.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thought I had upon seeing this was just like, yeah, more of this. Like use the fact that you're making a video game as an excuse to commission cool stuff from cool people.
Yeah.
Just put it in a random medium just for fun.
I'm very, very pro this, although I do have to say those are definitely the masks a serial murderer would wear.
Well, that's I think that's something a little bit possibly Slipknot's point in wearing them. It is impossible for me to think about the Slipknot mask without thinking it's a running gag in the Tim Robinson show, Detroiters. his character's little brother. Just whenever he gets emotionally overwhelmed, he has to put on the Slipknot mask and scream. Like it's just the way, it's his like little coping thing, and then he has to do it too. So I associate any kind of Slipknot mask with those gags. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just completely out of left field, just a chance to create an unusual medium for the joy of it.
Mm-hmm.
And interesting to see. I don't really know anything about that series, haven't played it, but can appreciate the art that comes from it.
It makes sense to make this kind of scary mask because it is a series about summoning and controlling demons. So matches up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I mean there's a thread there for sure.
Mm-hmm. I've got a story. This is a little bit Cole being vindicated to a degree, although it's kind of a monkey's paw curse. So ever since I found out we were going to get a Resident Evil 4 remake, I, kind of tilted my head and say, "Aren't you skipping over something there, buddies? Aren't you skipping? Isn't there one you forgot?"
Wait, didn't they already do 3?
They did 3. But they didn't do Code Veronica. They didn't do Code Veronica, did they?
Wait, does Resident Evil do like Kingdom Hearts numbering?
Only in that instance. And then like maybe there are a couple of spinoffs. Code Veronica just happens to be a non-numbered entry that happens to involve 2 of the most important characters in the series and is in continuity. Like but like an actual ass entry in the story. But yeah, came out originally on Dreamcast, and then came to PS2, and then was released to a whole bunch of other stuff. Not a great game, I would say, all told, but it's interesting at the very least. Would have been great to see them remake it. And I thought all hope was lost. But a very reputable survival horror leaker named Dusk Golem, who has given some results in the past, has proven to be trustworthy, has revealed that they are remaking Resident Evil Code Veronica. Capcom is.
Now, is this by way of a leak then, or any kind of
this is a leak. Like Dusk Golem is very specifically a leaker. So who knows, right? Like this is, this could be something that is really early in the works. Maybe this will never come to fruition. All kinds of games are getting canceled right now, although Capcom is doing very well at the moment. We're getting, I feel pretty comfortable saying like there's a good possibility that we're going to get a Code Veronica remake. The monkey's paw aspect of this is that's not the only game that is being remade. Alongside this, they're also working on a remake of the execrable Resident Evil 0. The GameCube one that is a prequel to the original Resident Evil that has really bonkers story and just some of the worst environment design because you had to be able to control 2 characters at the same time for it.
Oh no.
Yeah, really misguided in a bunch of ways. However, like both of these games, there is a lot of potential to remake them and get them right this time. While kind of maintaining the things that they got right. So I'm calling it a monkey's paw because Resident Evil 0 is kind of my Stanley Parable. Stanley Parable is to Moxie as RE0 is to me.
So that begs the question.
Is that the slug one?
The leech one. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That begs the question of who is doing the remaking.
I don't know. It seems Capcom doesn't necessarily farm a bunch of stuff out, is my understanding. Like there are A teams and B teams in terms of stuff, and we know that they're working on RE9. But there is like a dedicated like kind of remake team that people go on to and off of. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm excited that they are not going to hop over these games when it would be super easy to completely ignore them. And also it means it puts more years between the present and when they have to very uncomfortably readdress Resident Evil 5. So
the thing I want to see become a thing in Resident Evil is what RE6 and RE7 or whatever. RE7, RE8 both did the whole like, oh, we're gonna find a way to make the number be part of the logo, part of the Resident Evil text.
Yeah. I don't know how they're really gonna do that with an I and an X. Yeah.
I want it to become now like whenever there's talk of like, oh, what if we incorporate Puerto Rico? People have to do like, oh yeah, here's what the US flag would look like with 52 stars.
Yeah.
So I want it to become a thing that like now whenever they announce a new RE game, people have to speculate like, here's how you could incorporate the number into the text.
Call it Resident Evil 6 with the I and the X highlighted.
Yeah. Cool. That's my story. Ben, do you got a story?
I do. This is a story from last week. I posted it last Thursday, but
okay.
in the backstage. But it's just about the speedrunning of / likely or possible running of Super Mario 64 in a jumpless run. And so a little over a week ago, it was achieved that somebody did a 70-star run with 0 jumps in the game. So
All right,
Not so Jumpman now, are you?
I just want, this takes me back now to that. Okay, could you brute force the passwords and Lorelei and the laser eyes? And it's like, well, who would do that? The same people who did this.
Lorelei, puzzle-less run.
And I don't fully understand this, but apparently there's somewhat of a history around this because they have their own like Wikipedia page about like the progress of this, and they've like slowly over the course of time been able to work like jump off by jump off, and apparently this is only achievable on like a port to the Wii U, I think.
Okay.
And so,
oh wow!
So, like for some reason, it only works on that, whereas it won't work on other ones, or maybe it's just the Wii. And the 0 run's only been done on the 70-star one. But they also distinguish between full jumps and half jumps, which I didn't know.
Yeah,
was
there's half A presses in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like that. What was that super famous like speedrun explainer?
Yeah, no, that it might have been related to that, like talking about how there are half A presses. That is super famous. Super Mario 64 speedrun explainers, like that is a very deep rabbit hole for you to go on to follow.
My my favorite thing about this story though is what they call it is they call it the A button challenge or ABC. So I thought that was a fun name for it. But
they're always clever about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, good for them. Hopefully they figure out, there's got to be a way to figure out how to do it on other platforms too.
Yeah, or how to do negative jumps.
Yeah. And there are all kinds of skips you can do, like related to like crouching in certain places and waiting for an enemy to be in like a particular right spot, and then suddenly you're transposed above where you were.
Right.
Yeah. A little bit like the power that's built into Tears of the Kingdom, where you can just like elevator up if there's a surface above you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wild. Sweet. Well, that sounds like an episode to me. How do you all feel about buttoning it up?
Le buttons.
The credit.
Thank you so much for listening to level number 502. We appreciate you taking the time. On the news support thing, I want to remind folks that we're on the network is on TikTok and Instagram right now. I'm posting little clips, little audiograms of stuff from the show. If you want to help us out, you can repost those. That raises us in the algorithm, spreads the word, maybe get some new eyes on the shows or ears, as it were. Otherwise, there's the usual stuff you can do: participate in the multiplayer, leave ratings or reviews, tell your friends, or maybe go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Is there anything I'm forgetting?
Don't think so.
All right. Dennis, what's your details for Origin coming up in like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, I've got Origins coming up. I think it's the June 12th, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I will be at booth 1919 with some exciting new stuff that I'll probably be able to talk about next week. I also want to remind people from episode 500, we have a poll on what Pokemon I should decorate my PC with. So I'll repost the link to that and weigh in on what decorations I should do.
Nice. Cool. Well, I've been Cole Ross. You can find me on Blue Sky at Cole Ross.
I've been Dennis Furia. You can find me on Blue Sky at Furia Games.
I've been Moxie. You can find me on the level.
And I've been Ben Merkel.
And stick around for some titles. Okay. Let me get the right window up. Who's got what?
I have 3.
Okay.
I have defend a strategy.
Okay.
In the same vein, I have tactics harder.
Okay.
And then finally, a world of Raidens.
Okay. I have the Flugelhorn Master. I forget. That was you, Moxie, just coming up with the name of a demon or something, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. Moxie, what do you got?
I've got defense strategy, John Wicking people, and tactics harder. Although I do kind of like the Flugelhorn Master.
Okay. Ben, what do you got?
I got nothing.
Okay. I would put it between tactics harder and the Flugelhorn Master.
Flugelhorn.
Okay.
Flugelhorn.
Okay. Oh gosh, who's the guy? Tom Mangione himself. Yeah. Okay. Go Chuck Mangione. There we go. Chuck Mangione. Tom's his brother. Runs a dealership. All right. Well, it is decided.